Metroid Prime 4 is coming out for Nintendo Direct, and everyone was excited to hear the news and see the trailer for this game, except for the people that know some of the writers behind this new story that is coming with Metroid, who are insisting that maybe that Samus is transgender. And I think this is the thing people were frustrated about when they found out some of the core writers in the team that is behind this have these overall political activist points of views that no one really wants to see in a Nintendo game. And I think that's the thing people are apprehensive about when we heard that one of the key writers for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is an activist that has a perspective on how they perceive Samus as being someone that is part of the LGBTQ community. Of course, if you know anything about Metroid, you know Samus is a beautiful blonde woman under the mask, and it was exciting and groundbreaking at the time. So of course a lot of people know this about Metroid, but a lot of the new gamers, the new people that are coming into the industry, specifically people like Megan Fauci that never really liked games, that are only here for political activist reasons, they always try to transform the games that they're involved with. And this is something that came out in an article with the Mary Sue, where she was discussing the specifics about Nintendo and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and how she wanted to make Samus specifically a transgender woman. And you can see this in this article in 2015. This is before she started working on the game, and now knowing that she did work on the game for at least 2 years, it is making people apprehensive to this overall project. But let's see what she said. Maybe it's not too bad, and let's form an opinion afterwards. So in 2015, following an article published by the Mary Sue that suggested Samus Aran was a transgender woman, Fauci tweeted her support for the idea and personal belief that Samus is and will be transgender. This is a tweet that was liked by the article's author, Brianna Wu, who's also in the trans community. It has since been deleted after she got the job with Nintendo. And I think this is the thing people are hesitant about, because you can see this here. She previously worked on some okay games, Jedi Fallen Order. I think the story was okay. It wasn't terrible. We didn't see too many self-inserts when it comes to LGBT community story plot points. And I think that's the thing people are maybe hanging their hat on. Maybe this person won't be as invasive, but I think it's just more of the developers that she's working for. Respawn itself is a developer that champions these rights, so I can see this seeping into the future iterations of the Jedi Survivor game. And you can see this continue on with the company itself, where Respawn is a very political activist organization that is always trying to include these elements into its games, and not so much in a heavy-handed way with some of their Jedi Survivor games, but with Apex Legends, it's clear that is where they're leaning towards, and that's where most of the development team is focused, bringing these activist ideas to the gaming public and trying to instill these concepts into their everyday gaming experience. And I think that's what we're seeing overall with Respawn in general, and seeing someone from Respawn get a job with Nintendo to produce one of their most prized franchise characters is going to make people hesitate on the quality of the game. But of course, from what we know from Megan Fauci's own personal LinkedIn and just her employment situation, it seems like she has been let go from Nintendo over a few years ago, so her influence may have been minimal, but it might still be there. And I think that's the thing people are apprehensive about when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, where we're thinking, is there influence still there? Are we going to get this LGBTQ version of Metroid? But in my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to get that, because Nintendo heavily watches over its IPs and characters. So whoever they hire, they have to follow a specific standard. And I think that is going to be the case with Metroid and Retroid Games, who are producing this title. And I think what we're seeing right now is them delving into the overall pool of writers, trying to get a Western perspective on a game that they want to broaden its appeal. And I think they brought her in thinking that she'll produce something that is of useful to the game. And I think they probably found out quickly she's not right for their company. And I think that's the situation that ultimately is happening with Nintendo. But of course, I know people are going to say that Nintendo seems to be getting infected with this mind virus of political activism. We saw some other people part of Nintendo speak out, calling most of the fan base racist and encouraging racism against white people because they feel like white people threaten their life on a daily basis. And of course, this is that modern Western victim mindset when it comes to interactions with other people, when it concerns gender or racial issues. And I think it always comes back to this victimhood mindset that a lot of people that are part of these activist communities always lean on. And I think when you hire people and train people in this thought process, you get this continuous victimhood mindset where they're always trying to place themselves in a minor position, a weaker position than some overpowered individual or race or monolith of a person. And I think you see this reflected back in some of their hires of Nintendo that are working in the American branch of this company, where we get this political activist mindset, this victimhood complex from the very workers that are working within Nintendo America. And I think this is reflected back in the content production system manager, James Wong, where they try to accuse everyone of racism, where they're pointing out their fans and gamers are racist bigots and stuff like that we see oftentimes in the Western games development space, where it's always attacking the fans, hating the people that are purchasing your game, and trying to accuse them of some mythical hatred towards you, even though they're not even thinking about you. And I think this is a situation that we're seeing with Nintendo America, but the situation is quite different in Nintendo Japan, where they're still focused on making quality content. And I think that's the thing that I'm mostly depending on for my trust with this Metroid Prime game that is coming out. And I think it will still be a quality game. I think they will service it in a way where it is going to adapt to Japan's standards of quality of storytelling, because we still have the main producers of these contents still controlling the companies. Shigeru Miyamoto is still at the company. I think when we have these minds that develop this overall company still there, they're not going to let that happen. And that's who I trust in when it comes to Metroid Prime. That's who I trust when I see these new games coming out from Nintendo. The new Zelda game focused on Zelda herself. I think that's going to be a good game. Of course, people online are trying to say everyone hates that game, but I doubt it. I'm excited to see these new games with these new characters, because they're being handled by people that actually love Zelda, that actually like Link, that wouldn't make Link a buffoon idiot troll that is a lesser hero because Zelda has her own game. And I don't think that's going to happen, because these people understand these characters and they appreciate these characters. And we're going to get an interesting Zelda game focused on Zelda. And I think that is something people want to see and are going to play. And I think that's what we're going to get from this company, because it's made by the original creators and the people that still love these properties. If this was an America studio making these games, I would have no assurance that these games would be good, and I think their quality will be down in the dumps and into the toilet. And I think that's something we have to realize with Metroid. It's still being handled with care by the people that love these IPs, and I think that's the difference between the Western games development space. It's being handled by Megan Fausty type of characters who don't love games, don't care about games, probably hardly even understand these characters, because they say every female character is the first female character, when we had Metroid years ago, when we had Lara Croft years ago, when we had a bunch of these female characters years ago. But in their mind, since they entered the space, they created the first female characters to ever do anything in gaming. And I think that's the type of people that are flooded in the Western games development space, that are trying to make the first of many things. But we already saw these things in gaming a long time ago, but these guys are trying to do something revolutionary in a space that has already revolutionized the industry in its entirety. But this is just my opinion. This is why I think the situation is going to be Megan Fausty. Luckily, she's been fired already. She doesn't work on the Metroid Prime game, and I think my scenario that they brought her in expecting some valuable input, but they got nothing, so they just let her go. And I think that's my hope of what happened, and hopefully that's the case. But maybe you disagree with me. Tell me what you think about the situation. Do you think she's going to ruin the game? Do you think she already ruined Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? I don't think so, but you leave your thoughts and comments. Like, share, and subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.